My name is Emily Carter, and today I'm finally ready to tell a story I've been silent about for far too long. Before I begin, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and comment below where you're watching from, because what I'm about to share is something no woman should ever have to experience. This is the night my husband, the man I trusted the most, humiliated me in front of his friend. But this is also the story of how I stood back up and turned the tables in a way he never imagined. It happened on a Friday night, the kind of night that looks normal from the outside, but feels strangely heavy when you're living it. I remember standing in our living room, holding a tray of snacks, my hands slightly shaking, even though I didn't know why. Ryan and his friend Tyler were sitting on the couch, laughing like nothing in the world could ever go wrong. But something was wrong. The moment I stepped closer, Ryan looked at me with a smirk I had never seen before. Cold, mocking, almost proud of something I didn't understand yet. And then he said it. Words so small, yet powerful enough to split my world in half. "Don't mind her, bro. She's just here to serve us. That's all she's really good at." Their laughter filled the room. But inside me, something cracked. My face didn't show it. My body didn't move. But my heart? It dropped so hard it felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. In that single moment, everything I believed about love, loyalty, and marriage changed. Because the man who was supposed to protect my dignity was the one tearing it apart. And he had no idea that this was the moment I would start planning my revenge. When I look back now, I realize something painful. I was the wife Ryan never deserved, not even for a single day. When I married him 3 years ago, I did it with my whole heart. I was one of those women who believed in building a home with love, patience, and loyalty. I believed small arguments could be fixed, bad days could be forgiven, and people could grow if you held their hand long enough. I believed marriage was teamwork, but I was the only one doing the work. Ryan used to be charming when we first met. He'd bring me flowers, send long messages, and tell me he'd never let me go. He made promises that sounded so genuine that I never imagined I'd one day hear him mock me the way he did. But life after the wedding changed him, or maybe it revealed who he truly was. At first, the changes were so small, I ignored them. He'd make a comment about my cooking, something like, "Maybe next time try something edible." I'd smile it off, thinking he was joking. Then he started commenting on my clothes, telling me what not to wear, what made me look too plain, what made me look like I was trying too hard. He even criticized the way I laughed. Imagine that, the one sound that used to make him fall in love became something he rolled his eyes at. But the worst part wasn't his words. It was the way he slowly trained me to shrink, to become smaller, quieter, more acceptable. I stopped inviting friends over because he didn't like noise. I stopped buying things for myself because he said saving money was more important. I stopped talking about my dreams because he said they were unrealistic. Even at parties or dinners with family, he would say things like, "Oh, Emily forgets things easily." Or, "She's sensitive, don't take her seriously." Everyone thought he was joking. I knew he wasn't. But still, I stayed. Because I kept telling myself, it's just stress. He'll change. Every marriage has ups and downs. I made excuses for the man who wasn't even trying. I cooked for him even when he came home late without a call. I cleaned the house alone, even though we both worked full-time. I supported him through job changes, through family problems, through nights when he needed someone to talk to. I stood by him, even when he didn't deserve it. I didn't realize it then, but I was carrying the whole marriage on my back while he stood there criticizing the weight. And the saddest part? I thought this was normal. I thought this was what marriage required. Sacrifice, patience, and swallowing pain quietly. I thought if I loved him hard enough, he would become the man he used to pretend to be. But that night, the night he humiliated me in front of his friend, I finally saw the truth clearly. I wasn't his wife. I was his convenience. A woman he wanted beside him only to feed his ego, not to share his life. And that realization was the beginning of my transformation. That night started like any other. Ordinary, quiet, nothing unusual. If someone had walked past our house, they would have seen warm lights, heard soft music, and assumed a happy couple was hosting a simple dinner. But inside those walls, something was dying. I had spent the whole afternoon preparing the meal. Ryan told me his best friend Tyler was coming over, and even though he didn't ask for anything special, I wanted everything to be perfect. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was that tiny part of me that still believed he would one day notice my efforts again. I cooked Ryan's favorite pasta, baked garlic bread, even made a dessert he used to love. I cleaned the house, set the table beautifully, all while telling myself, maybe tonight will be different. Maybe he'll appreciate me. Maybe he won't make me feel invisible. When Tyler arrived, he walked in smiling, polite, friendly as always. And for a moment, it felt normal. But Ryan, he was different. There was a tone in his voice, sharp, careless, almost proud, the kind people use when they want to impress someone, even if it means stepping on someone else. While I was setting the plates down, I heard them whispering and laughing, but I didn't pay attention. Not until I placed the tray of snacks in front of them. That's when Ryan looked at Tyler, pointed at me, and said, "She takes forever to do simple things. I swear if she didn't have me, she wouldn't survive one day." My heart froze. I tried to brush it off, pretending I didn't hear. But he wasn't done. As they talked, he kept making little comments about me, my job, my habits, my personality, as if humiliating me was entertainment. Tyler looked uncomfortable, shifting in his seat, but he didn't say anything. He wasn't the one who owed me loyalty. Ryan was. And he broke that loyalty piece by piece, word by word. The final blow came when I brought dessert. Ryan leaned back on the couch, looked at Tyler, and said, "She's sensitive, man. She cries over everything. Sometimes I think I married a child." They laughed. But for the first time, I didn't look down. I didn't blink away tears. I didn't run to the kitchen to hide. I just stood there and watched him. Really watched him. His face. His eyes. His smirk. The way he enjoyed making me small. And something inside me, something tired, something wounded, something that had been quiet for too long, finally snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like a string breaking inside the heart. In that moment, while he laughed at me in front of his friend, I realized something powerful. This wasn't marriage. This wasn't love. This wasn't partnership. This was a man who enjoyed having control. A man who felt bigger when I felt smaller. A man who needed to see me hurt to feel good about himself. And I knew, right there, standing in my own living room, this dinner wasn't just humiliating. It was my breaking point. The moment I stopped trying to fix us and started planning to free myself from him forever. That night, after Tyler left and the house finally grew quiet, I moved through the rooms like a ghost, silent, invisible, unnoticed. Ryan didn't even look at me. He went straight to the bedroom, humming, scrolling through his phone, acting as if nothing had happened. As if he hadn't torn open my dignity piece by piece in front of another man. As if my heart wasn't bleeding right in front of him. But that was the thing about Ryan. He never saw my pain. Because he never cared to look. When I entered the bedroom, he was already lying on his side of the bed, laughing at something on his screen. Not a single apology. Not a single moment of reflection. Not even a glance. He didn't say, "Are you okay?" He didn't say, "I shouldn't have said that." He didn't say anything. And that silence, his silence, was louder than every cruel word he'd said earlier. I climbed into bed quietly, facing the opposite direction. My eyes were wide open, staring into the dark, while he laughed beside me as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Inside my chest, something heavy settled, a realization I had tried to avoid for years. This man had never truly loved me. Not the way I deserved. Not the way a husband should. Not even close. And the deeper I sank into that truth, the quieter I became. Not because I was weak, but because silence is where transformation begins. Silence makes you listen to the things you've ignored. Silence makes you hear the truth you didn't want to face. And in that long, heavy quiet, I heard everything. I heard the voice of the woman I used to be, hopeful, patient, forgiving, begging me to walk away. I heard the version of myself I had buried under fear and compromise. I heard the echo of the humiliation from earlier, repeating in my mind until it carved itself into something permanent. You cannot stay here. You cannot let him define you. You cannot lose yourself for someone who doesn't even see you. While he snored peacefully beside me, I was wide awake, planning, thinking, remembering every red flag I had ignored. Every time he belittled my dreams. Every time he dismissed my feelings. Every time he made a joke about me in front of others. Every time he turned my love into a weakness. And slowly, my sadness turned into clarity. Clarity turned into anger. And anger turned into strength. Not the loud, explosive strength that throws things or screams. No. This was the quiet kind of strength. The kind that builds slowly, steadily, silently, until it becomes unshakable. By the time the sun began rising, touching the curtains with a soft glow, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to beg for respect. I wasn't going to demand apologies. I wasn't going to ask him to change. I was going to change. And he wasn't going to see it coming. That night, in the silence he created, I found my voice, the voice I would soon use, to turn the tables, in a way he never imagined. The next morning, I woke up before Ryan, not because I wanted to, but because my mind hadn't rested for a single second the entire night. I watched him sleep for a moment, peaceful, unaware, completely relaxed. The same man who had torn me apart just hours ago was breathing like a baby, untouched by the damage he caused. And that's when it truly hit me. He will never understand my pain. So I will make him feel his own. I slipped out of bed quietly and stood in front of the mirror in the bathroom. My eyes were swollen, my face pale, but there was something different in my reflection. A spark, a shift, a new version of me being born. Not a broken wife, not a silent woman, not the girl he controlled. I was done being dragged like a shadow behind him. It was time to step into my own light. And that's when the plan began forming, slow at first, but becoming clearer with every breath I took. First, I needed information. While Ryan slept, I opened my laptop and pulled up every financial document we had. Savings, property, the car, bills, insurance, investment accounts, even the credit cards. And with every file I opened, I felt more powerful. Because Ryan, in all his arrogance, had always told me I wasn't good with money, so he made me handle everything. Ironically, that meant everything important was in my name. Everything valuable was under my control. Everything he depended on belonged to me. He gave me the power thinking it made me useful. He never realized it made me unstoppable. Second, I needed evidence. I opened my phone and saved screenshots of his messages, the ones where he insulted me, mocked me, disrespected me. I recorded a voice memo of the things he said the night before. Tyler's presence made everything even stronger. I wasn't going to cry in court. I was going to win. Third, I needed support. I called my lawyer quietly, whispering in the kitchen so Ryan couldn't hear. A woman lawyer, someone who understood the difference between pain and humiliation. I told her everything. She didn't gasp. She didn't judge. She simply said, "Emily, you're stronger than you think. Let's end this the right way." That's when the plan turned into a mission. Finally, I needed him calm. I pretended everything was normal. I cooked breakfast. I placed his coffee on the table. I kissed his cheek before he left for work. Not because I loved him, but because a storm is most dangerous when the sky looks clear. Ryan walked out of the house completely unaware that by the time he walked back in, his life would never look the same again. I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I wasn't leaving quietly. I was going to walk away with dignity, strength, justice. And I was going to make sure he understood something he had forgotten long ago. A woman's silence isn't weakness. It's preparation. And mine was almost over, because the plan he never saw coming was already in motion. Sunday morning arrived with a strange stillness in the air, the kind of calm that comes right before a storm, the kind that warns you something life-changing is about to happen. I woke up before Ryan again, but this time not because of pain. This time it was purpose. I dressed slowly, chose a simple outfit, tied my hair neatly, not to look good for him, but to look composed for myself. Because today wasn't a breakdown. Today was a breakthrough. Ryan was still half asleep when I told him Tyler was coming over. He frowned.
Why?
I didn't call him. I smiled politely. I did. And for the first time in years, I watched genuine confusion flicker across his face. He couldn't read me, and it scared him.
Good.
When Tyler arrived an hour later, he looked tense, like he sensed something was off but didn't know what. He stepped inside quietly, and I guided him to the living room. Ryan followed us slowly, rubbing his forehead like he was walking into a conversation he didn't want to have. "Emily, what's going on?" he asked. I didn't answer him. Instead, I placed a thick folder on the coffee table. Neatly organized. Efficient. Complete. "Sit," I said softly.
He did.
Not because of authority,
But because something in my voice had changed.
I opened the folder and turned it toward him. The first page was bold. Divorce agreement. Ryan blinked, then laughed, actually laughed, like it was some kind of joke. "Are you serious?" he scoffed. "You're being dramatic again. You'll calm down."
I didn't react.
I simply slid the next set of papers toward him. Property documents. Every single one with my name on it. The house.
The car.
The savings accounts. His face tightened. "Emily, why is everything under your name?" He knew the answer. He just never expected it to matter. I leaned back and folded my hands calmly. "Because you never cared enough to check. Because you thought I wasn't capable of handling finances. Because you made me the assistant in my own marriage." His jaw clenched. He looked at Tyler for support, but Tyler didn't move. He stayed silent, the same silence he watched me suffer in that night he laughed with Ryan. I continued. "You humiliated me in front of him. You disrespected me not once, but repeatedly. You made me shrink so you could feel bigger." Ryan swallowed hard. There was no smirk now. No confidence. Just panic. I pushed one last paper toward him. A summary of the proof I had collected. Screenshots. Recordings.
Statements.
Everything he thought I was too emotional to gather. I had prepared perfectly. His voice cracked. "Emily, please. Let's talk." I shook my head. "You had years to talk. I'm done talking. Today, I am choosing myself." His breathing grew uneven as he scanned the documents. He realized he was cornered, not by anger, not by revenge, but by the consequences of his own cruelty. And then, finally, with hands shaking, he picked up the pen and signed. Tyler looked at me with a mix of guilt and respect. Ryan looked at me with something I had never seen in his eyes before.
Fear.
Not fear of losing me, but fear that I had become stronger than he ever imagined. When he placed the pen down, I whispered, "You broke me that night. Today, I break free." And just like that, the tables turned. Completely. Irreversibly. Justice doesn't always arrive with handcuffs. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the form of consequences a man never thought he'd face. After Ryan signed the divorce papers, I didn't shout, I didn't cry, I didn't argue. I simply closed the folder, thanked Tyler for coming, and walked into the kitchen like it was just another morning. But Ryan knew. He felt it. The shift. The loss. The weight of everything he had taken for granted finally slipping out of his control. For the first time in our marriage, he was the powerless one. And I wasn't done. 2 days later, we sat in a lawyer's office. The same woman I had spoken to in whispers now sat beside me with confidence, so sharp, it pierced through every lie Ryan tried to form. He attempted everything: denial, fake tears, manipulation, blame. But the evidence was undeniable. The screenshots, the recordings, the financial documents, even Tyler's written statement about that humiliating night. My lawyer looked at him and said, "What she endured is emotional cruelty. She deserves compensation and protection." Ryan's face drained of all color. He wasn't expecting justice to look like paperwork. He didn't expect it to look like signatures and legal consequences. He expected me to crumble emotionally, scream, throw things, beg. But I sat calmly, hands folded, watching him feel the same powerlessness he once forced onto me. That was justice. He lost the house. When the lawyer confirmed that the house was legally mine, Ryan jumped out of his chair. This is ridiculous. I paid for half of it. No, she corrected him, sliding the papers forward. You thought you did. Everything was in my name. Every payment, every receipt, every record. He turned to me, eyes wide. Emily, you can't do this. I looked back at him. You did this to yourself. He lost control. The next blow came when the lawyer explained the consequences of emotional abuse. Ryan would have to pay monthly support until the court finalized the settlement. He slammed his fist onto the table. I'm not paying her anything. You don't have a choice, she replied. And the truth hit him harder than anything I could have said. For the first time, he was facing accountability. He lost his reputation. Tyler talked to mutual friends, and word spread quickly. Not because I wanted revenge, but because truth has a way of escaping the walls people try to trap it in. Ryan had spent years portraying me as oversensitive, weak, too emotional. But now, everyone saw the real him. And he hated it. His ego shattered long before the divorce was finalized. He lost me. The ultimate justice, the one he never expected, was losing the woman who held him together. He realized too late that the version of me he tried to break had rebuilt herself into someone stronger than anything he could overpower again. The last time we saw each other, outside the courthouse, he whispered, Emily, you really did it. I looked him straight in the eyes. No, I said. You did it. I just survived it. He walked away with empty hands, a hollow pride, and a life he had to rebuild without me. I walked away with dignity, peace, and a future brighter than anything he ever allowed me to imagine. And that was the justice he never expected. To everyone listening, I want you to understand something that took me years to learn, countless tears to accept, and one devastating night to finally face. Silence is not strength. Endurance is not love. And loyalty means nothing when you're the only one giving it. For so long, I thought being a good wife meant staying quiet, ignoring the little insults, laughing off the comments that stung, pretending everything was normal when inside, I was falling apart piece by piece. I thought if I just loved harder, if I just forgave more, if I just tolerated his moods and humiliation, maybe one day he would wake up and realize my worth. But the truth is, some men never see a woman's value until she stops giving them access to it. And some women, like me, never discover their own strength until they walk away from the man who made them forget they had any. If you are listening and you feel that same heaviness in your chest, that same fear of being alone, that same hope that maybe he'll change someday, please hear this from someone who lived it. The version of you he breaks is not the version of you that has to remain. You are allowed to start over. You are allowed to rebuild. You are allowed to choose yourself. Even if it scares you, even if everyone around you says, try again, even if the world tells you that a woman must sacrifice everything to keep her marriage alive.
No.
A woman should not have to sacrifice her dignity to keep a man. A woman should not have to shrink so he can feel tall. A woman should not have to bleed emotionally just to prove she loves someone who does not love her back in the same way. Leaving him was not my failure. It was my victory. And turning the tables on him didn't just expose who he truly was. It reminded me of who I really was, beneath all the pain, beneath the silence, beneath the years of being talked over, dismissed, and embarrassed. I found myself again. And if you are listening to this story right now, maybe you're meant to find yourself too. Maybe this is your sign, your push, your reminder that you deserve more than the bare minimum, more than whispered apologies after loud insults, more than temporary kindness after permanent damage. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't need explaining. You deserve a partner who lifts you up, not one who tears you down in front of others for a joke. My message is simple. If he humiliates you publicly, he never respected you privately. And if he won't change, then you must. For your own peace, for your own future, for your own worth. Walk away before you forget who you are. Because your life, your heart, your dignity, they're worth fighting for. If this story touched you, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-life stories of love, betrayal, and strength.